The door closed behind her with a weight that felt final. Dimmitri stood on the other side, unwilling, unhappy. "You don't have to do this," he had said. "Let me go instead." But Saraphina had shaken her head. "You taught me to survive. Now let me show you I learned." Her target was a safe house in the Mala Strana district, tucked above a flower shop that only sold black lilies. Rumor said it wasn't just a cache of weapons or money. It was a message, a place where the widow kept trophies. Saraphina didn't plan to become one. She dressed in silence, black jeans, a soft gray sweater, a coat long enough to hide a knife. Her hair was braided down her back, tight, efficient, beautiful in a way that said, "This is not a costume." She moved like smoke, blended in with the tourists, watched the rhythms, timed the guards. They changed every hour. And one of them, tall, blonde, nervous, kept reaching for a cigarette he wasn't allowed to light. He's the key, she thought. She followed him after his shift ended, waited until he turned the alley, and pressed a knife to his throat. "Don't scream." He didn't. She took his ID, his PIN code, and his silence. "You're not dying today," she said, "but if you tell her I was here, you'll wish you had." He nodded once. She vanished. The door to the safe house clicked open. Inside, velvet walls, silk rugs, perfume on the air that smelled like ash and violets. Trophies lined the shelves, photographs, jewelry, locks of hair, names on glass. She saw her own, written on a red velvet card, tucked beneath a silver comb. She's already chosen me, Saraphina realized. She thinks she owns me already. The thought didn't frighten her. It enraged her. She moved fast, planted the bugs Luca had given her, took pictures with a hidden lens in her coat button, stole a flash drive, set the timer, 10 minutes until the fire began. And then, a sound. Not a door, not a window, a whisper. "You're prettier than the pictures." Saraphina turned. There, standing in the darkened doorway, was a woman draped in shadows and silk, hair like white gold, eyes like lacquered blood, lips painted the color of crushed roses. Valeska, the widow. "I thought you'd be taller," she said, stepping into the light. "But perhaps you only bloom under pressure." Saraphina didn't answer, didn't move, didn't blink. "What do you want?" she asked, voice cold. Valeska smiled. "To see what he sees in you." "Who?" "Dimmitri Romangh, my broken, burning prince." Saraphina gritted her teeth. "He's not yours either, isn't he?" Valeska moved closer. He was trained to obey, to kill, to crave the leash. "But you..." She circled her, slow, like a cat. "You're not trained at all. You're wild. And wild things don't last long. Then maybe I'll take you with me." The widow laughed. "Oh, Petal, I hope you try." Saraphina didn't stay to see if she could win. She threw the flash drive into her pocket, kicked over the bottle of accelerant near the curtain, and ran. As the fire caught, she didn't look back. She returned to Luca's hollow an hour later, breathless, shaken, but unbroken. Dimmitri met her at the door, eyes wide with something between awe and panic. "You're hurt, only my pride." "Did she see you?" "Yes. And?" "She told me I'm wild." He stared at her. "You are. Good." Then, without hesitation, Saraphina stepped into his arms. "But I'm not yours," she whispered. "And I never will be." "I know," he replied. "That's why I stay." Far away as the fire devoured her collection, Valeska stood watching it from across the rooftops, unblinking, unmoving, and smiling. "She is wild," she said. "Good. Now let's see how far she'll go before she breaks." The morning after the fire, Prague slept under snow. Luca was gone, off chasing names in silence, but Dimmitri and Saraphina remained, tucked into the cold stone refuge beneath the city. They hadn't spoken much. The silence between them wasn't brittle. It was soft, waiting. But the weight of unspoken truths pressed against the walls like frost creeping through old mortar. That evening, Saraphina found him in the chapel. It wasn't a real one, just a hollow in the stone with a broken bench, a melted candle, and a crucifix missing its face. Dimmitri sat on the bench, back to her, hands clasped. She approached slowly. "Do you pray?" she asked softly. "Not anymore." "Did you ever?" "I used to scream," he said. "When I was a boy, I thought if I screamed loud enough into the night, someone would hear. God, ghosts, anyone. Did they?" He shook his head. "Only wolves." She sat beside him, waited, and finally he spoke. "I was born in Siberia, near the Yenisei. My mother was Romani. My father, I never met. She died when I was 6, fever. Who raised you? No one. I raised myself, first in a church, then in the frost alone, until a man named Maxim found me. He told her everything, how Maxim was a recruiter for the Vorovskoy Mir, the world of thieves, how he picked children who wouldn't be missed, how he trained them like dogs. He gave us names, numbers. I was Vori 27. I wasn't allowed to speak unless spoken to. Every mistake was blood. How long were you with him? Until I was 17. I killed for him, fought for him, bled. Then I ran, took his ledger, burned his estate. Why? Because he sold my best friend to a man in Ukraine, a politician, as a gift. I never saw her again. Her name? Dimitri's voice broke. Elena. Saraphina didn't speak. She placed her hand over his, not to comfort, to join. A shared weight. He continued. How he moved to Moscow, built himself new, became a ghost with a gun, took contracts, killed kings and criminals, until he wasn't just a weapon, he was a name. And people feared that name, Romanov. But inside, I'm still the boy who screamed into the dark, he said, still waiting for someone to answer. And me? She asked. You didn't answer. He looked at her. You walked into the dark and found me. The candle beside them flickered, a tiny flame. He reached for her hand again. This time she didn't hesitate. Do you regret it? She asked. Becoming this man? No, why not? Because if I hadn't, I never would have survived long enough to meet you. They didn't kiss, they didn't cry, but when he laid his head against her shoulder and she ran her fingers through his black hair, it was more intimate than either had known in years. Not lust, not survival, just being seen. Later that night, Luca returned, blood on his sleeves, ink on his neck. I found something, he said, but it comes with a price. What is it? Dimmitri asked. The widow isn't working alone. Who's her patron? You're not going to like it. Tell me anyway. Luca's eyes burned. Maxim, he's alive. Silence fell like winter. No, Dimmitri whispered. I killed him. You tried. That's impossible. Not anymore. Saraphina stepped forward. Then we finish it. What? You said you screamed into the dark. She reached for him, held his face between her palms. Now it's time the dark screamed back. In a glass tower in Berlin, a man with gold teeth and a silk suit poured vodka into a glass made of bone. He watched footage of Saraphina on a loop. She reminds me of Elena, he said. But stronger. He raised his glass. Bring her to me alive. And tell Valeska to stop playing with fire. We're building a kingdom now. I want my queen. The next morning, Saraphina woke before the sun. Dimmitri was still asleep beside her, his breathing slow, heavy from the weight of dreams. She sat up carefully, wrapping the blanket around her like armor, and moved into the cold stone hallway of Luca's underworld sanctuary. Luca was already awake, sitting in front of a table covered in maps, coffee, weapons, and a radio that occasionally hummed like a dying bee. Sleep well? He asked without looking up. As well as a girl can, knowing the devil is alive and waiting. You'll need more than sleep for what comes next. She stepped closer. Then teach me. By the time Dimmitri joined them, Saraphina already had a gun in her hand. Luca stood behind her, adjusting her grip, correcting her posture, elbows in, breath low. This isn't a movie. Dimmitri blinked. You're teaching her to shoot? No, Saraphina said, glancing over her shoulder. He's teaching me to win. They trained for 3 days. Not just weapons, but strategy, escape routes, pressure points, surveillance detection, voice control, emotional regulation. Memory drills. Dimmitri watched silently most of the time. But on the second night, he joined her on the rooftop. They stood in the wind, facing the river, the lights of Prague casting gold into the water below. "You're changing," he said quietly. "Am I?" she asked. "Yes, but not into something hard, into something whole. And you?" "I'm changing too. For the first time, I don't feel like I'm waiting to die." The next day, Luca laid out the plan. Maxim will be at a masquerade in Berlin. 3 nights from now. It's a gala under the guise of peace, Russian oligarchs, foreign diplomats, the usual scum. "Security?" Dimmitri asked. "Insane, but not perfect." He pushed forward 2 invitations, 1 silver, 1 red. "These will get you inside. But once you're in, you're on your own." "And Valeska?" Saraphina asked. "She'll be there, like perfume on poison." "So we take them both. You won't get a second chance." That night, Saraphina tried on the dress Luca provided, silk black, backless, embroidered with stars. When she stepped into the hallway, Dimmitri stared. Not like a man claiming something, but like a man seeing salvation in human form. "You don't have to do this," he said again. She smiled gently. "You said I'm blooming, yes. Then let me show them what grows from ashes." They danced in the dark that night. No music, just the sound of footsteps on stone, 2 broken souls moving in slow, uncertain rhythm. Dimitri's hand on her waist, Saraphina's fingers on his chest, their pain between them, but no longer a barrier. "A bridge. You make me want to live," she whispered. "You make me believe I can," he answered. And when they kissed, truly, fully, for the first time, it didn't feel like the end of something. It felt like home. Meanwhile, in Berlin, Maxim Romangh leaned back in his throne of glass and gold. He was younger than he should have been, rebuilt with science and blood and lies. The burn scars on his chest had been shaped into art. Valeska knelt beside him like a queen in waiting. "They're coming," she said. "Let them," he replied. "She's dangerous. She's mine. She'll try to kill you." Maxim smiled, teeth gold and gleaming. "So did Elena, and I broke her. I'll break this one too." He stood, pulled a blood-red mask over his face. Let the masquerade begin. The palace was made of mirrors and menace, a renovated estate just outside Berlin, ringed by pine trees and lined with guards in white gloves and steel eyes. Chandeliers bigger than carriages hung from the ceilings. Music floated through gold-trimmed halls like perfume. And beneath it, something sour, fear dressed as elegance. Saraphina stepped out of the car first, hair pinned in a crown of raven twists, dress stitched with silver stars that caught the candlelight and scattered it like frost. Her mask was black lace and pearl, shaped like a morning rose. She looked like winter come to life. And death had never worn a more beautiful face. Dimmitri followed, dressed in midnight black, his hair tied at his neck, his mask a single onyx curve across his eyes, like the shadow of a scar. He said nothing as they entered, but he didn't let go of her hand. Not once. Inside, the world shimmered, laughter, high and hollow. Glasses clinked. A string quartet played something violent in a soft tempo. Everyone wore masks, but even without them, the monsters were obvious. Oil barons, crime lords, politicians with polished lies. And at the top of the stairs, Maxim Romangh, alive, laughing, like a god who thought himself immortal. Saraphina's breath caught. Not from fear, from recognition, not of him, but of the damage. She saw it in his eyes, the same need for control that had once tried to crush her in the streets, the same joy in ownership, the same hunger for pain that masqueraded as charm. He is not a man, she thought. He's a grave in a suit. Maxim noticed them, of course, and smiled. "My brother returns," he announced loudly, "and he brings a rose more dangerous than thorns." The music stopped. Every eye turned to them. Saraphina didn't flinch, didn't bow, didn't even blink. "Careful," she said. "Roses bloom in blood." Maxim laughed. So do legacies. He descended the stairs like a king, arms open. Come, Dimmitri, drink with me, dance. Let us bury the past. Dimitri's voice was ice. The past doesn't stay buried. The night moved like a loaded gun. Saraphina played the part, smiled, danced, even flirted. But her eyes never stopped watching. She saw the security cameras, the escape routes, the faces of men who had bought lives and buried daughters. And through it all, Valeska drifted like a silk ghost, watching her, stalking, smiling. Later, as midnight approached, Maxim took Saraphina aside, to a room of velvet and knives. "Do you know why I like you?" he asked. "I don't care. Because you remind me of someone I couldn't break, and I always finish what I start. Then this is where it ends." He leaned closer. "If you kill me, another will rise. Then I'll burn the whole garden." She left him bleeding, a shallow cut across the lips. Not to kill, but to mark. A warning. Back in the ballroom, Dimmitri met her at the edge of the crowd. "You cut him. He deserved worse. He'll want blood. Let him come for mine." Not alone. He cupped her face, their masks brushing. "This is the part in the story where people like us die. Then let's write a different ending." And high above, in a glass gallery overlooking the ballroom, Valeska watched them, smiling. But for the first time, something cold bloomed in her chest. Not hate, not rage, doubt, because the girl was not afraid, and the man was not broken, and together they looked like a flame no darkness could swallow. The clock struck 1, a single chime, then another, and then the lights went out. For a breathless second there was only silence. Then, gunfire, screams, shattering glass, a voice through the dark. "Kill the Romanovs. Leave the girl to me. Valeska." Saraphina didn't freeze. She moved, pulled Dimmitri behind a marble pillar as bullets chewed through the ballroom. He was already drawing his gun, 2 shots clean and fast, taking down a man in a wolf mask and another with a red armband. "We're trapped," he muttered. "Not yet," she said. "The exit's blocked. Then we make our own." The guests panicked, running like cattle. Some guards fought back, some turned sides. But in the middle of it all, Maxim stood laughing, untouched, as if chaos had always been his throne. "Dance for me, brother," he called. "Let me see the monster I raised." Dimmitri didn't answer. He just shot out the chandelier. It crashed down in a storm of fire and crystal, scattering the crowd, opening a path. "Go," he shouted to Saraphina. "Not without you." But before he could reply, a dart hit his neck. His eyes widened. He stumbled, collapsed. Saraphina screamed. And then she saw Valeska, descending the stairs, graceful, glorious, a queen in the ruins. "Let's talk, Flame," she said. "Let's burn," Saraphina replied. They fought in the Hall of Mirrors, 2 women, 2 weapons, 1 war. Steel met steel. Elbow met jaw. Blood hit the marble in elegant arcs. Valeska was stronger, but Saraphina was faster, and she was angry, not the trembling rage of a girl who had nothing, but the sharp fury of a woman who had everything to protect. "Why him?" Saraphina asked between strikes. "Because I wanted what he refused to be," Valeska answered. "And me? Because you changed him. That's unforgivable." She sliced open Valeska's thigh, dodged a blade meant for her heart, grabbed a broken shard of mirror and drove it into the widow's side. "I'm not his redemption," she whispered. "I'm his rebellion." Valeska fell, not dead, but broken, for now. Saraphina dragged Dimitri's unconscious body out through the burning garden. Luca met her halfway, bleeding but alive. "Cars at the gate. He's been drugged. Then we run." They fled through fire, through blood, through snow. Behind them, the masquerade burned. Maxim stood at the top of the stairs, flames licking at his coat, eyes wild with joy and fury. "Run, little ghosts," he called. "I'll find you again. The world is small, and my reach is long." But Saraphina didn't look back. She held Dimmitri in her arms, and her only thought was, "He saved me once. Now I save him They drove for hours, Luca at the wheel, Saraphina in the back, whispering to Dimitri's unconscious form, "Don't you dare die. Don't leave me in this world without you. You said you believed. You don't get to stop now." And somewhere before sunrise, he stirred, eyes fluttered open, and he whispered, "Horse." "Did we win?" "Not yet," she said, tears falling freely. "But we're alive." The safe house was an abandoned monastery in the Carpathians. Stone walls, frozen silence, a roof barely holding, but it had heat and clean water and a bed. And after everything they'd lost, that felt like a miracle. Luca left them there. "I'll draw the trail," he said. "Buy you time. Don't die before I get back." And then he was gone, like smoke, like always. Seraphina didn't sleep that first night. She sat by the bed watching Dimitri's chest rise and fall. The drug had weakened him. He'd muttered things in his sleep. Names, places, Elena, fire, Maxim, grave. She held his hand through it all, not to comfort herself, but to anchor him. By the second morning he woke fully. Eyes half-lidded, voice gravel-worn. "Where?" "Somewhere cold," she whispered, but not alone. He blinked up at her. "You're still here. Always." And he smiled, just barely, but it was real. For days they didn't speak of what happened. They cooked quietly, ate little, slept more. Seraphina read an old prayer book she found in the chapel, not because she believed in it, but because the words calmed her hands. Dimmitri tried to walk again. By the third night he collapsed halfway to the kitchen. "I hate being weak," he said. "You're not," she replied, helping him up. "Then why can't I protect you?" She looked at him, eyes bright, voice steady. "Because I'm protecting you now." They slept in the same bed, but not like lovers, like people who had survived something holy and terrible together. She curled around his shoulder, breathing in the smell of smoke and pine still clinging to his hair. He whispered to her stories, not about Maxim, not about murder, but about stars, about the moonlight on the Yenisei River in winter, about a girl he once saw feed stray dogs under a train bridge and vanish when he blinked. "I thought she was a ghost," he said. "Maybe she was. She had hair like yours." She looked up. "Maybe it was me. Maybe I've always been looking for you." On the sixth day, the silence finally broke. Dimmitri sat at the chapel window, snow falling softly beyond. "I killed him once, you know." "Maxim? I swear I did. I put 2 bullets in his heart. I watched the fire take him." "Then he's not alive," she said. "He's something else, a lie pretending to breathe." He looked at her, eyes not broken, but haunted. "What if I can't stop him again?" She crossed the room, sat beside him, took his hand. "Then I will. You don't know what he's capable of." "No," she said. "But I know what I'm capable of when someone tries to take you from me." Later that night, as snow thickened outside, Dimmitri found her in the chapel again. She was lighting a candle, hands shaking, eyes bright. "For your mother?" he asked. "For Elena." He paused. "Do you want to know what happened to her?" "Yes. Only if you want to tell me." And so he did, in pieces. Elena had been a quiet girl, eyes like sea glass, skin like dusk. She was 10 when Maxim took her, 12 when he sold her, 16 when she returned for a single day, pregnant, mute, eyes empty. She bled to death in a back room. Dimmitri had buried her with his own hands. "I made a vow over her grave," he said. "To kill Maxim? No. Then what? To never belong to anyone again." He looked at her. "And then I met you." She didn't answer, didn't speak. She just leaned in and kissed him, soft, full, no hunger, no fear, just home. That night they made love slowly, like they were learning each other in Braille, like the world had ended, and they were the last 2 left alive. And when she whispered his name against his throat, "Dimmitri," he exhaled like he hadn't breathed in years. The next morning Luca returned, bruised, bleeding, but smiling. "I found something," he said. "What?" Saraphina asked. "Where Maxim is building his new empire." "Where?" "Back in Russia, near where it all began." Dimmitri stood. No hesitation, no fear. Then that's where it ends. The train cut through Russia like a wound. Steel rails, endless frost, birch trees blurring into ghosts. Saraphina sat beside Dimmitri, his hand in hers, neither of them speaking for the first few hours. There were no more lies left to tell, only truths waiting to be faced. They passed forgotten towns, empty villages, graveyards buried under drifts. And as they neared the Yenisei River, Dimmitri finally spoke. "This is where I was born. Right there." He pointed to a ruin in the distance. A chapel missing its roof, windows like shattered teeth. "I remember hiding in the bell tower when the frost got bad. Rats kept me warm. You survived, barely. But you did." He didn't answer. When they arrived in Kirovsk, the snow had already started falling heavy. A man met them at the station, not Luka, not a friend, but someone Dimmitri had known long ago. A hunter named Gregor, once a debt collector, now retired. His right eye was blind, his left hand gone, but his memory sharp. "You shouldn't have come back," he said to Dimmitri. "I have to end it. Maxim's not hiding anymore." "Good." Gregor gave them a place to stay, a cabin near the edge of the frozen forest, old, cold, but safe, for now. They lit a fire, they waited, and on the second night they heard it, a wolf's howl, low, long, wrong. "That's not a real wolf," Saraphina said. "No," Dimmitri agreed. "It's a message." "From who?" "From Maxim." The next morning a letter arrived, delivered in a child's hand, wrapped in ribbon. Inside, "Tomorrow, midnight, come alone. The place where she died." It wasn't signed. It didn't need to be. Dimmitri wanted to go alone. Saraphina refused. "He'll kill you. He'll try. I'm coming. It's not your war. It became mine when you let me into your heart." That night, under a sky lit by no stars, they returned to the place where Maxim had killed everything good in Dimitri's world, an abandoned processing plant near the river. Rusting towers, frozen drums, blood frozen into concrete from years past. "She died here," Dimmitri said quietly. "I know. I couldn't save her. You didn't fail her." "Didn't I?" "No." She turned to him. "Because you saved me, and I will never let that go." The gates creaked open. Inside, candles, a table, 2 chairs, and Maxim, wearing a white coat, smiling. "Brother, monster, I expected a gun. I brought something sharper." Dimmitri stepped aside. The factory was silent. No guards, no weapons drawn. Just Maxim sitting at the head of a long, rusted table. Candles flickered around him like fireflies trapped in glass. Behind him, a dozen armed men stood like statues, and behind them, a chair, a throne, empty, waiting. Dimmitri walked forward, Saraphina beside him, every step deliberate. She wore her grief like armor now. No dress, no mask, just truth, and a small blade tucked in her boot. "I see you brought your flame," Maxim said. "I see you brought your tomb," Saraphina replied. He laughed, still so dramatic, still so afraid. "Afraid?" he echoed. "Of losing control," Dimmitri finished. "Of being seen for what you are, which is a dying thing wearing power like a mask." Maxim stood, unhurried, unbothered. "You killed Valeska." "No," Saraphina said. "She's alive, just broken. She was the last thing I cared about." "Then you never cared for anything." The silence cracked like frost under a boot. Dimmitri stepped forward. "I'm not here to talk." "Then why come? To end it." Maxim sighed and gave a subtle nod. The guards moved, 12 men, 12 guns. Saraphina and Dimmitri didn't flinch. They fought like stars falling, sharp, brilliant, doomed. Dimmitri moved like a storm, disarming, striking, breaking bones with precision born from rage and training. Saraphina danced beside him, low, swift, knife-catching candlelight and bone. Bodies fell. Snow spilled in through shattered windows. The air stank of blood and cordite. And when the last guard hit the floor, Maxim applauded. "Bravo." "You're next," Dimmitri growled. "You always were the pretty one," Maxim said, drawing a blade from beneath his coat. "Let's see how well you bleed." They circled, 2 brothers, 2 wolves born of the same winter. Only one would walk out. The fight was vicious, not elegant, not trained. Just fury and instinct, flesh against steel, memory against fire. Dimmitri took a slice across the ribs. Maxim lost a finger. Blood soaked the floor. Saraphina watched. She could have ended it, 1 shot, 1 strike. But she waited. Because Dimmitri needed this. Not for vengeance, but to be free. Then Maxim made a mistake. He turned his back to her, called her a ghost, a pet, a toy, and Saraphina moved, like ice cracking, like a prayer breaking, like a blade singing. She drove the knife into his side, not fatal, but deep. Maxim screamed, turned on her, raised his hand. But Dimmitri was faster. 1 shot, right between the eyes. Maxim Romangh died without a word, not a scream, not a curse, just a breath. And then nothing. Dimmitri collapsed beside the body, breathing hard, bleeding. Saraphina held him, pressed her forehead to his. "It's over, is it? He's gone, but you're not." He looked at her, and for the first time there was no fear in his face, no fury, just peace. They burned the factory, didn't look back. Let the snow take what remained, and when the dawn rose, it rose on 2 survivors, not broken, not lost, but alive, together. Epilogue. Beneath the winter rose the house was small, on the edge of nowhere. Pine trees stretched out in every direction. A river sang nearby, always cold, always clear. The garden behind the cottage had roses in it, planted in frostbitten soil, stubborn, red, wild. Saraphina didn't name them, she just watched them grow. Dimmitri came in from chopping wood, his black coat dusted in snow. He set the axe down, pulled off his gloves, looked at her. She was kneeling by the hearth, feeding the fire with old papers, letters, maps, the last pages of names they no longer needed. "You're burning the past," he said. "Only the parts that hurt, doesn't it all?" She smiled faintly. "Not you." They didn't talk much about the city anymore, or Maxim, or the blood. But sometimes, at night, when the world was quiet and their hands found each other under the covers, she would whisper, "Do you ever wonder why?" And he would reply, "Why we survived? Yes, because we found something worth living for." They opened a little bakery, no sign on the door, no name. Just the smell of cardamom and warmth, and music played from a static-filled radio. People came from miles away. Not for the bread, but for the feeling, something kind, something safe. Children played outside in spring. A stray cat came and went. Luca wrote letters from time to time, always signed with a crude sketch of a wolf. The world turned. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. One morning, Saraphina walked to the garden. She wore a thick knit sweater and no shoes, the grass cool beneath her feet. She crouched beside a rose that had bloomed too early, petals trembling in the wind. She touched it gently and smiled. "You made it," she whispered. Behind her, Dimmitri appeared in the doorway. "Talking to flowers now. They listen better than people." "Not true. Prove it." He stepped into the garden, pulled her into his arms, held her like something rare, like something real. "I listen," he said. "Then hear this," she whispered, lips brushing his ear. "I love you." He closed his eyes. I never stopped. The snow came again that night, just a dusting, enough to whisper, "Winter will always return." But inside the cottage, warmth bloomed. 2 cups of tea, 2 chairs by the fire, 2 people who had earned their peace. And beneath the window, in the cold, dark soil, a rose bloomed, not because it was strong, but because it had been loved. The end.